that. I don't know, thirsty, I don't know, like she's dirty, just things like that.
Sex was talked about in my house, but my mom made it very clear that I was not allowed to have sex before I was married. And then once you were married, then that sex just kind of, that was like its own entity. And we never talked about anything else. It was just like, the penis goes into the vagina, and that happens after marriage, the end.
My parents were divorced, so I had two different versions of what sex was. My mom was a lot more liberal about it, and she and my aunt would joke with me and say, before you get married, you have to have sex. That was kind of their thought, because for them, what they explained was sex was something that you learned more about your partner through. It wasn't anything other than just a passionate moment where you and your partner could grow closer together.
I have like recollections of me going online and looking at porn and having my parents catch me doing that and telling me not to do that, but they didn't really say why not to do that. So it wasn't really like addressed straightforward until like I expressed to them that I knew what sex was, and that's when they had like the birds and the bees talk with me, even though like at that point I had known.
It's interesting because my parents are both medical people, so you think they would be more comfortable talking about it, but they just never did.
My parents brought it up once or twice. They were like, this is how it works. And then that was about it.
I knew I was gonna have sex.
I was really excited to come into college. I was hoping, my thought of college was that I was gonna come in and have sex with everybody on my floor. And that was my goal for freshman year, was to do that. But when I got here, I was like, ooh, that's a really bad goal. That's just kind of silly. That's not something that I should do.
I wasn't out before I came to college. So coming to school, I saw it as like a new opportunity for me to like explore the side of myself that I hadn't been able to.
I mean, going into college, you know, people are gonna be having sex, obviously. Some people decide to have sex in high school, so it was pretty much around me already. I knew it was gonna be a normal thing. It wasn't something that was gonna surprise me.
The sex culture I assumed was gonna be very open and very exciting, but when I got here, it really wasn't, which made me sad.
Okay, so slut shaming, I mean, it's messed up. Like, women who have sex are looked down upon, dudes who have sex are glorified. Patriarchy, great.
I actually don't know that word. Slut shame?
Any type of like negativity towards a person, specifically like a woman, based on their sexual history.
So like, if a girl is going around having sex.
Slut shaming is talking down about someone who acts in a more promiscuous way than you deem appropriate.
Shaming women for like expressing themselves in a sexual way that they want to.
I don't know.
There's no male equivalent of being a slut. There was a man whore, but you always had they prefaced it with man, so you know, a man whore as opposed to just a whore, which was a woman. So yeah.
I have no clue. I feel like girls come up with those words, yeah, or they would be saying those words.
I feel like it's dumb because it's like, well, we know a slut is a woman, right guys? Like, that's what it's really about. So in order to make it about men, we have to explicitly say it's about man, like man slut. But really guys, by slut we mean women, so if we're gonna apply it to a man, we need to clarify. I'm talking about a man here.
I have never heard of an instance of a guy being called a slut. A slut is always towards a woman. What people don't know is that it's really harmful. It really hurts when you're called a slut. And I've never heard a guy called it. And so when guys call women sluts, they just like don't even understand what it means and what it can do.
Like at Hay, I've never been called a slut. I have been called a player, which I think is really interesting of how like being queer masculinizes me in a way. And I remember feeling really like uncomfortable with the term player, being like, what? I've dated like 2.5 people, guys. Come on. What?
a young gay, like a baby gay, it's acceptable for you to like sleep around because that's just like part of accepting your identity as a gay male, or that's how like people see like it's your sexual exploration.
I think trans people and trans bodies are essentially excluded from all conversations about sex.
I feel like everyone in the quilt bag community is sexualized in a way. I feel like everyone that isn't deemed heterosexual or cisgender or anything is assumed that they're going to be having some weird erotic sex thing.
Like there's more light shed on if a girl is being promiscuous with multiple people than if there's a guy, and I feel like that's not right, but it's what happens.
Even in like the gay community, I think flamboyant, like more feminine gay males are stigmatized more against having sex, like having a lot of sex, than if you were a more masculine gay male.
There's a problem with like if a guy says like, yeah, I slept with this girl, they're like, oh, cool. And I don't hear comments about the girl, but when, or the guy having sex with the girl, but when a girl's like, oh yeah, I had sex with this guy, in personal experience, I've had like, oh wow, why? And then I've had other experiences of them being like, oh my God, really? You gave it up to him?
What's interesting is that it seems to be both genders who shame women. So even other women shame women.
The same hand that annuls a woman for being pure is the same hand that oppresses a woman for being a slut.
Is to make themselves feel better. So if they're gonna name call another woman, it's just gonna put them higher up on the list. And you're like, oh, well, she's a slut, so she's lower than I am, and I'm better than her.
And so maybe we're taught that, so it's like we're teaching ourselves, we're keeping ourselves oppressed.
I've been the subject of slut shaming on campus. It really hurt when I found out that people were calling me a slut, because I had never really experienced that slut shaming before. And I was very surprised that when I came to college, that's where it was gonna happen. And I was really hurt that people just did not accept me for who I was and that they just decided to judge me. But it didn't make me stop. So I was really hurt by it, but I was like, it's their choice to call me a slut and it's my choice to not listen to it. So I'm gonna continue on doing what I am doing. And it might hurt me, but I'm gonna stay strong in what I like, so you can go fuck off.
I think the word like female empowerment has been a lot of times simplified. I think like for empowerment to happen, it's about like loving yourself. So I hear people say like, I'm gonna wear these tight pants, hashtag female empowerment. And I'm like, maybe that is for you. Maybe that is like loving yourself and like showing that love to the world and feeling liberated as fuck. Maybe that's how it is for you. Maybe like that blowjob is that way. But I don't know. Like I'm confused by how the word empowerment is being sort of misplaced at times.
Some women are choosing to take that word back, and so calling their friends sluts. I think that is another way. I personally think it's empowering by taking the word back and using it so that if someone then tries to slut shame you, it's like, oh, okay, good one.
I think that there's this whole notion of the white female purity that that these white feminists are trying to reject, and I appreciate that. I respect that. I see where they're coming from, but that doesn't apply to women of color because women of color never had that. We were never pure. You know, we never were able to achieve the level of white female purity because we're not white, and I don't think that. I think that it's a lot more difficult for women of color to shake the stigma of being a slut than for a white woman. And so I would never, I don't think I could use it as a term of empowerment.
I feel like Kay likes to pretend that it doesn't have problems with like social issues when it's very obvious that we do.
I definitely think it's not acknowledged enough as it should be, and maybe that's because there are people who maybe feel strongly about it. Maybe people like recognize that slut shaming happens, but they're not like willing to like recognize and acknowledge their friends and like call out their friends when they do that.
I think a lot of students here say that they're liberal and say that they're feminist, and they also say things that are very problematic, but I'm also very nitpicky. And I tend to dissect everything everyone says, so if you're not thinking about what you're saying, I can probably find something problematic about it.
We're so advanced in many respects, but we still can't just fundamentally respect each other's choices. It's very troubling.
I definitely think that there's an opposite end to slut shaming, whether you call it prude shaming or not. Yeah, I think there is.
You shouldn't judge someone for not having sex. It's their decision whether or not they want to have sex. And if someone like made you do it, you would be uncomfortable with that. So that was your choice to have sex for the first time. If someone hasn't made that choice yet, then there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
How ridiculous the term for slut or whore is because it's not consistent. It changes wherever you go because there are certain places where like you have sex before marriage and you're a slut, and then there's places on certain college campuses where like you know can have sex with a bunch of different people before marriage. Like it's normal. If you don't do it, then you're a prude.
When a girl isn't having sex, she's considered a prude, but if she is having sex, she's considered a slut. There's no way for a girl to go around and do what she wants and feel completely free to be herself.
My sex drive is my sex drive, and that's nobody else's business but mine and the person who I'm having sex with. And it has nothing to do with whether or not I have a vagina or I have a penis.
Don't call women sluts, because there's no such thing as a slut. Women can have sex with as many people as they want, and they should not be judged for it, because sex is a natural thing in life.
It's so fucked up. So fucked up. I don't know. I don't even know. And it's hard just to find that balance as a woman and as a friend to women and as a maybe mother someday. I don't know.
The A is
Because I've got pink hair and a cute face, I'm considered more feminine.
My name is Abby. I'm a first year at K.
Yeah. Yay.
I'm AJ. A lot of students here know me by Katie. I'm a non-binary trans student here at Kalamazoo College.
My name's Anita, and I'm a junior.
I'm Brian. I'm a sophomore. I'm majoring in philosophy.
Sex is a huge part of my life, and I love to talk about it. It is my favorite subject.
KJ Schultz. I'm from Walled Lake, Michigan. I went to Walled Lake Central High School.
I love pizza and I love prosciutto.
Fall in love a lot. It's like my main thing.